Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's technical session on AWS reInvent Recap. My name is Nimat. I am the moderator, and I'll be taking you through this exciting program. First of all, before we proceed, we have one keynote speaker and three distinguished speakers who are going to be sharing their expertise on topics discussed at AWS reInvent. And before we go on, each speaker is going to be presenting for 20 minutes, followed by a short Q&A session. So our first speaker for this session is going to be Dr. Roladali. So I'm going to do a brief introduction about Dr. Roladali. So Dr. Roladali is a trailblazer in the world of cloud computing, data, as well as artificial intelligence and machine learning. She has a PhD in neuroscience and works as a cloud consultant. Her achievements and expertise have earned her recognition in a golden jacketed AWS ambassador and an AWS hero. So please, Dr. Oladali, can you go ahead, please? I can't hear you, please.
I'm muted. Nice to meet you. Let me share my screen. So I'm talking today about share screen. I'm talking about AWS community. Can you see my screen?
Okay.
Okay. So part of a great part of reInvent for me is the community. I'm part of different community programs at AWS, and a big part of reInvent beyond the technical capabilities is the technical learning is really seeing all of the people that we collaborate with all year for community programs. So I just want to talk to you about all the community programs that exist at AWS and how you would get into those. So there are several community programs at AWS. Many of them are run through the community team, specifically the AWS Community Builder, the Leader Group, the Captain Clubs, and the Heroes are run through the community um, team. But then the Ambassadors is run through another team, which is the marketing team. But they kind of do similar things. So if you go to the builders, thebuilder.aws.com, this is a unified page where you could find everything community. It's a pretty cool site where you can see blogs and connect with people. And there's a lot of different directories for who's involved in AWS. So if you go to the community tab, you can see that there are four different um, programs. So there's the community builder, the user groups, the cloud clubs, and then the heroes. And if you go all the way to the end, there's the ambassador program, which again is run through a separate organization, but serves similar purposes in some extent. So let me talk to you a little bit about what each of those are, and then we'll come back and see if there's any questions. Okay.
Alright.
So the AWS Community Builder is one of the biggest programs in terms of participating people. I think there's anywhere between 2,500 to 3,000 members, I think, and so it's a big uh, group. It's one of the really, really good programs. I started as a community builder. I feel like it helped me grow as a developer quite a bit. In terms of benefits, again, the community is one of the biggest things. I made so many friends. There's so many people who are excited about building and about sharing knowledge. You get AWS credits to test out different projects that you have or to learn about AWS. So there's $500 in credits. There's a Cloud Academy subscription for free to learn more information. There's swag, very nice swag. And there's free technical sessions. So all of these programs almost sign an NDA with AWS. And what that does is it allows AWS to share different exciting programs that are new, or they can open beta sessions for testing. So it gives you a front view to a lot of different things that are coming at AWS. And then we get reInvent discount tickets. So and there's a lot of other programs that go through. So that we get to see, like there was the AWS Voices, which trained people for public speaking. There's the new Welcome program that so there's a lot of programs at AWS, and they're all kind of highlighted in the, so when you're a community builder, you get to know about all the things that exist. So in terms of requirements, what they look for is people who are interested in sharing knowledge with other builders and contribute freely and openly. Usually it's 2 contributions in the year before, and that could change anytime, right? The benefits can change, the requirements can change, but the essence of the program remains. In terms of getting in, you fill out an application form. It is currently open until the 21st of January. So I've got a link here, but again, if we go back to the builder.aws.com, you can go here to the community builders and you can apply right here at the link, and it'll take you to a form that you have to fill out, and results come out in a month or so. Okay. So that's the first program. The second program is the AWS user group leaders. These are people who like to organize events in their local community. And so I'm also an AWS group leader in Montreal, and we organize different events for the technical community. The benefits there are, again, you get a welcome swag kit, we get certification vouchers, reInvent discount tickets, and AWS credits. There's a lot of support. These are personal benefits, of course, but there's a lot of support in terms of how do you organize events and funding for events. And so there's a lot of growth that they're willing to help with. In terms of requirements, you just need to be interested in organizing events in your community. The maintenance requirement is that there's at least 4 meetups per year organized. And to get, in terms of the application, again, if you go back to the website and you press on the user groups, you can join a user group or start a user group, and you press on these and fill them out, and somebody will reach out to you. And there's no deadline particularly, it's an ongoing application. So you can do that anytime. The equivalent to the AWS user groups for students is the AWS Cloud Club Captains. These are meant for students at academic institutions. So you have to be at a university or college. And again, the benefits, you get a welcome swag kit. I'm not in this particular program. This is what I read online, but you get a welcome swag kit, certification vouchers, credits, and resume support and other benefits. The requirements, you have to be 18 years old or older, enrolled in an academic institution. And I think that in terms of the submission process, you're asked to write an essay and a small video submission and some support from your school. And the applications for this are open. They close on the 20th of January. So if you go to Cloud Clubs again, you can see these links and you can fill them up. And again, these all have directories, I should say. So you can see if you're looking for someone in Cloud Clubs, you can see everybody who is in them. You can look by people or university. Here in the user groups, if you're looking for a user group to join within your community, you can come here. Again, there's a directory, and then you can, for example, look at Montreal, or let's see, Canada. And then you can find all of the user groups in Canada to see if one is close to you or if you need to create one. And again, the community builders, there's a list of everybody and you can search it. Okay. So the AWS Heroes is also part of the community at AWS. Again, in terms of benefits, the benefits change, but you get swag, certification vouchers, credits, reInvent vouchers, free technical sessions and enablement, and a lot of information on AWS's roadmap, which is very nice. In terms of the requirements, this one particularly is not disclosed. It's not as obvious as the other ones, and there's no application process. This one happens by selection, and they reach out to you, unlike the other two. So if we go back to the heroes, you can see that there's no application button here, unlike the others. And you can see again, well, I happen to be there because I'm one of the latest cohorts, but you can see all of the heroes here. And again, it's searchable. Okay. And so the last program that I want to talk to you about is the AWS Ambassadors. Again, this is run through AWS Marketing, and it's a partner organizations. The other programs are individual programs. They're based on the person. The ambassador is based on an AWS partner, so it's about the organization or the company. In terms of benefits, we get reInvent vouchers, AWS credits. We get access to talks at reInvent and other events, and then we get access to the APN blog and other. These are the benefits that I've mentioned in all of these slides is not a complete set of benefits. The benefits are subject to change, but just to give you an idea of what is currently in place. The requirements are that you are at a partner institution, that your company is an AWS partner, that you have you contribute about 12 annual pieces of content a year with about 3 active certifications. Now, this program is undergoing a little bit of change at the moment, so these might change, but it's still a very, very good program. And the essence is not going to change. So the benefits might change, the requirements may change, but the essence of the program is unlikely to change. In terms of the application process, you have to talk to your AWS liaison for the partner company, and they recommend you and they'll help you start that process. And again, it goes, I think, through a different, if we go back to community, it goes through a different website, but you can look it up here, and it has its own page. And again, you can search and find who you want and get more information about the program. And so everything is really centralized in this website, builder.aws.com, and you can get all your information there. And that's it. That's all I had to share. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. Ola, for the insightful session. So we're going to be taking questions from the audience. If you have any question, can you please drop it in the chat?
Okay, if any questions come up later, you can find me on LinkedIn as well, and you're welcome to let me know.
Okay, I think there's a question here, ma'am. So
Okay.
the question says, I am a student. Can you tell me more about the opportunities for students?
So yes, so the AWS Cloud Club is the one particularly designed for students. There's a lot of programs at the university level and so on, but the Cloud clubs are specifically designed for students. So that would be the right program. And yes, the application is on a rolling basis. They do they do a big push, I think, now. So it's closing on the 21st, I think, of January. So if you're interested, you've got another 4 or 5 days to apply.
All right. There's another question by Inuluwa Akonda. Is the AWS Cloud Club application on a rolling basis?
I think that they do take people within the session if you within on a rolling basis if you discuss it with them, if you contact them, but I'm not sure. They do have an application currently opening, and the deadline says that it is the 20 or the 21st, and so you would want to catch this cohort um, if you're interested. So the deadline, the website doesn't say a deadline, unlike the community builders. But I did hear that they're aiming for the 20th to evaluate all these applications.
Okay. So there's another question again. Does AWS offer any intervention or support for startups on any of its services?
Yes. So that's not part of the community stuff. This is part of AWS programs. But yes, they do. We at Tech 42, I work for a company called Tech 42, which is an AWS partner. We specialize in partners. And so, yes, there are different partner programs that are specifically for startups. And if you go back to the website, there's let me share my screen again. So if you go, there's a lot of programs, and you can talk to your rep if you can poke at them to see what they can offer you. Because again, this is not, I don't work for AWS, but if you go back, can you see my screen? No, not yet. Can you put the screen on stage, please? Okay, so if we go back again to the AWS builders, if we go to the community and you go down, there is AWS startup program. So you can go in and explore what AWS has to offer for startups. But I do know that they do have programs very specific for startups.
Okay. So I think those are the questions that I asked. Thank you very much for those responses, Dr. Lula. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. And if you have any more questions, you can find me on LinkedIn.
All right, we'll do that. Thank you very much for
Have a good day.
the session. So next we hear from the next speaker. The next speaker is Yusuf Abdulhakim. Please go ahead. So welcome back, everybody. So next we're hearing from our next speaker, which is Yusuf Abdulhakim. Can you go ahead, please? Welcome, Mr. Yusuf Abdulhakim.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
All right. So Mr. Yusuf Adolakin Ademola, um, he is a recent graduate of agricultural economics at the University of Ibadan. He'll be presenting on how to build AI agents with Strand. Mr. Yusuf, the floor is yours.
Sorry, please,
Okay.
can you speak louder a little bit? I'm actually straining my ears to hear you.
Our first speaker, Mr. Yusuf Abdul Hakim, is a recent graduate of agricultural economics at the University of Ibadan. He'll be presenting on how to build AI agents with Strand. Mr. Yusuf, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So, I'm going to be sharing my screen. I believe everyone here can see my screen here.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I also appreciate Dr. Roladali for honoring our invitation right from Canada. She joined us from Canada to deliver the wonderful keynote speech to us. Thank you so much, Dr. Roladali. We really appreciate your presence here at the AWS User Group Oyo State. Though AWS User Group Oyo State is a new user group that we are nurturing and we are rearing. We believe that with support from AWS Euro, like Dr. Oladali, we can strive and bring the user group to the promised land. So today I'm going to be discussing about how to build AI agents with strands. As the discussion of today is related to what was discussed at the AWS event 2025 at Las Vegas, and one of the speech and one of the talks that was delivered there was how to build AI agent with strands. And with this talk is formatted to be delivered within 30 minutes. I'm going to make it 20 minutes, and we are going to discuss about what is an agent and what is a tool. Also, we're also going to discuss about how to create an agent with strands SDK. And the main things that you're going to learn from this is what agent is all about, what is the tool, how you create an agent with strands, and how to use built-in custom tools. So the key takeaway for today's discussion is agents. What is an agent? Agents are LLMs, that is the large language models with ants. They can um, reason and take action. And Strands is an open source SDK for building AI agents in just a few lines of code. Strands is provider agnostic. Strands supports built-in and custom tools. So today's agenda is how to create your first agent with Strands and how to enable debugging and how to easily switch between providers and how to use built-in tools and how to use custom tools. So what is an agent? I want us to have this interaction between the attendees. So can someone just tell us what an agent is all about?
Can anyone tell us what an agent is? Can you drop your answer in the chat box?
So you can drop your answers in the chat box.
If you have an idea, you can drop your answers in the chat box. No answer is coming in.
Okay. As we all know that agents, according to um, Merriam-Webster dictionary, is is one that acts or exerts power, essentially something that makes things happen. So that is in a general sense, and in a legal or business context, what an agent is all about is a person legally authorized to act on behalf of another individual, group, or entity. For example, a real estate agent or a talent agents. So in terms of technology in computing, an agent can be a software application designed to automate tasks like gathering information online. So that's what agent is all about. It's built by LLM, whereby you prompt an action, then it gives you whatever you have prompted it to do. So agent is all about getting tools to work together, getting your data to work together, then to get an outcome for what you have feeded the agent to do for you. So Strands agent is an open source Python SDK for building agents using just a few lines of code. And Strands agent supports MCP, that is my model context protocol, and A2A protocols. So if you are creating your first agent, you go to your VS Code, pip install Strands agent, then from Strands import agents. Then after getting this codes, this abstraction let us focus on building agent, while Strands handles creating a secure connection to Amazon Bedrock and how you can format your requests and responses, then how you manage tokens limits. So this is a demo. So with your co-pilots, your GitHub co-pilots on your VS Code, GitHub Copilot helps you to complete code, then it helps you to debug your code. Then it helps you with your GitHub Copilot. You can also, with the charts features in the Copilot, it can help you to write your code. Then at the terminal, you see. So this is what Strand Agents is all about. So it also enables the debug. So what you do just is for you import login from Strands import agent, then login.get logger, then you set up your formats and your handlers, then your subject expert is the agent, then your system prompt, you have a computer science subject expert. Then response subject expert explain the concept of recursion in programming. So let me play this demo for us to see. Then you import, login. So this is a typical example of this thing, the demo. So it also provide agnostics. It's a provider for agnostics. So with this code, from login, from Strands import agent, from Strands.models import Bedrock model, then from Strands of models.anthropic, you import Anthropic model here. Then you import your OpenIA model, Mistral model, and Olama model. So these are the examples of providers: the Bedrock model, the Anthropic, the OpenAI, the Mistral, and the Olama model. So this is a typical demo. So by using your VS Code and your GitHub Copilot, it helps you to do this. Then your model ID is us.amazon.nova premier v1. Then you name your model, that is the Bedrock model. So this is what you're going to get at the terminal. So you can also build an interactive session with your Strand agents, with your AWS Strand agent. What you just need to do is from Strand, you import agents, then you define the interactive session. So let's have a demo for that. Okay, so this is what we have at the terminal. In the terminal. So this is your question. Okay, I'm very sorry. So let's have the so this is a demo. So once you send the input to the agent, it's going to automatically give you a response. So this is your Strand agent. So what is a tool? So what a tool is all about is a tool is something I use to maybe bring up something like in agriculture now. Well, what we are talking about farm inputs. Farm input could be a tool. Okay, sorry. Let me share my screen. Sorry. Sorry, I. So what is a tool? So a tool is anything physical or digital that helps you perform a task more easily, efficiently, or effectively. Like if you're in the farm now, like your farm input, like your cutlass, your hand trowel, your spade, your um, your hand glove, and your boots. So those are tools that you need in the farm to work, and that's if you are working in a non-mechanized farm. But it's even if you're working in a mechanized farm, some of the tool they're going to use is your tractor, your wheelbarrow, and some other things they are going to need to work on the farm. So that's a tool. But in computing, so tool is something that you use to get something done. Like in your software utility, you can design your program with your software utility. You have development tools. So a tool is more like an agent that is being used to get what you want. So there are built-in tools, something like Strands agent tools. What just need to do is you get pip install Strands agent tool. Then these are the available tools. We have rag and memory. There's file operation. there's shell and system, there is code interpretation, there is a web and network, there is AWS services, multimodal utilities, there is agent and workflow. So these are the tools. These are the available tools that we have. You can from the Ragnar memory we have the retrieve. There is memory. There is agent core memory. There is mem zero memory. Then under the file operator operations, we have the editor file read, file write. Under the code interpretation, we have Python replicate. Then code interpreter in the web and network, we have HTTP request, Slack, and browser. And the utilities, we have calculator, current time, load tools, sleep. So these are the other agent and workflow tools that we have. We have the graph to create and manage multi-agent system using Strand SDK graph implementation, then agent graph, journals, swarm, stop, handoff to user, then use agent, then think, use lim, workflow, batch, and so from your strands, you can import your agents. From strands tools, you can import current time, HTTP request. So once you have done this, then you can get your query. So let's get this demo. So from strands, you import your agents. Then from strands tools, you import your current time, then HTTP request. Then from agent, you name your agent, you define it, then the system prompt. So these are the tools that you're using. Then your response, you get your response, you define it. Then let's go to the terminal now. Then the Python tools, this is what we are using. That's the built-in tools. So can you see it now? With the code that you've written now, you can get these results. So Strand agents will give you let's get this demo. So from Strand, you import your agent, then tool. So these are this is your co-pilot. Then you define your agent. So so can you see the responses? So Strand agent gives you the capability to do things easily. You can build so many things with Strand agent. So in today's discussion, these are the key takeaway. We discussed about what an agent is, and which we discussed that an agent is an LLM that can help you take action. Then Strands is an open source SDK for easily building agents. And then Strands is provider agnostics. And we saw how to enable debugging, how to use built-in tools from the Strands tools library. And we saw how to use custom tools with the tool decorator. So thank you so much. You can get this thing on the screen. You can scan the QR code to get the Strands code samples and Strands agent documentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Yusuf. That's a lot of technical things, technical stuff. So we'll move on to the Q&A session now. If there's any question you have, can you please drop it in the chat box or in the comment section? Okay, I think in the Dr. Roladali dropped that if you are interested in learning about agents, she said she released a free lecture on free code camp on YouTube. So do well to watch it if you are interested in learning about agents. So she dropped the link to the YouTube channel in the chat box. So please do well to. So you can drop your question in the chat, your question for Mr. Yusuf in the chat box or in the comment section, please. Okay. While waiting for the questions. Waiting for the questions.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for having me.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Yusuf, for the insightful session. So okay. So I'm so sorry, my network kicked me out. So can anyone hear me, please? Can anyone hear me, please? Wow. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. So next speaker for today's session is um Miss Bushra Ahmed.
Alright. Hi, Mr. Perfect Vision.
She's not yet. Okay, I think we'll move to the next
Hi,
person then.
I'm
To the
on the
next
call.
speaker, if she's not available. Okay, she's here. Yes.
Hi,
Welcome.
everyone.
Welcome,
Welcome, Miss Bushra.
Perfect Vision. Perfect Vision.
Uh, I hope my audio is audible.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hello.
we can hear you
Good
loud and
evening.
clear.
Hello. Good evening. I'm the moderator. My name is Inilu, and I'll be stating the profile of Miss Busira Ahmed. Miss Busira Ahmed is a senior data engineer. She's a data enthusiast whose experience spans across data science and engineering. Our work focuses on building data solutions that scales an intelligence platform. Thank you.
We can hear you, Miss Bushra.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay, we
I
can
was
hear you now.
muted. Thanks for the intro. I'll be sharing my screen now. Okay. Yeah, this is a reinvent recap, right? And it's majorly a program where you talk about some of the topics from reinvent program. And the topic I'll be talking about is cost efficient and security best practices with Amazon S3. So this was previously presented by Felix Davis. Is a principal product manager at Amazon S3 AWS. So I will go ahead with the slide. I mean, I won't be reading these slides word for word, but please just try to listen attentively, because this is also a topic I'm quite passionate about, or it's I'm very interested in topics like this when you're talking about security, cost optimization, because it's nice when you get onboarded on a tool, but the most important thing is, can you afford it on a long run, right? Which is what happened with a lot of tools that companies or individuals building their startup uses. They get started, and with time it becomes very expensive. So uh, an S3, AWS S3, it's a widely used tool, right? It's used as data lake. In some cases, people even treat it as like their backup archive. In some cases, people use it as their storage. Depending on the use case. So it's a widely used tool. So we'll first be talking about the different cost optimization and understanding what S3 is itself. So when you create a bucket, it's called S3 bucket. So you might find me saying things like S3 buckets along the line. So the benefits, I think I've sort of mentioned some of these use cases. So in security, you can use it to store your audit trail. It's safe. Uh, you know, it's always available. It's mostly available. It's scalable. It's manageable, and it's high performance. So it's used in different it has different use cases, right? People, you could use it to host your static website, for analytics, enterprise application, archive your old or your large files. So it has different kinds of use cases depending on who you are or what you're actually building. So straight to the cost optimization. So uh, I mean, when you have to create your bucket, right, you need to understand what use case am I using this bucket for? I mean, that should be the first thing that comes to mind. Do I want to store a frequently accessed data? Then you need S3 standard. Or do I want a to store a data I hardly access? I access once a year, once in 6 months, right? Then you should be thinking about using the S3 Glacier Deep Archive or S3 Glacier. It depends on your use case. So you on the slide, I hope you can all see my slide.
Yes, we
I need a
can.
confirmation. Okay, good.
Yes, we can.
So on the slide, you would see that there's an hierarchy in terms of how frequently you use the data. So that depends on the class, and it also affects the cost. So if you don't need to access the data frequently, then you don't need to use S3 standard, which is more expensive when you access data frequently. So this is also buttressing the point. So data that you want to when you retrieve, you receive the you receive your query output in milliseconds. So then you should be storing it in S3 standard. But if you don't mind, waiting for an hour to receive the data, it's not a real-time data usage, then you should consider using the glacial options. I will move quickly to you know the availability. So you would see the S3 standard is available in more than 3 regions, and so only the S3 one zone is available in uh, one region. The cost per storage size. So these are also some of the other charges, attached to the different classes. So you have the monitoring fee for some class, while you have also a minimum object size. So which means they actually expect you to store, really large files or a certain object file size if you're using, some of these classes. So the next part will be, talking about the so S3 I mean, these are just majorly some of the things I have, really touched on in terms of how do you uh, access this data. And the nice thing is you can move from a class to another. So which means if you currently need the data to, to be real time right now, you could be using the standard, and in the future you realize that, oh, these are old newspapers, like I don't really need this anymore, then you could move to other tiers. So, I mean, like I have on the screen, customers save millions of dollars annually with the, just understanding their storage class and also putting life cycle management on their files. And so there's a new term that just came up, life cycle management. So the idea is you realize that you don't need to store this data uh, for a very long time. So you could put a life cycle on the data, or even say, oh, after 2 days, then I want this data to go into the archive class, or I want to remove this particular data. So that's the idea. So this is just a slide that further explains that. So how do you manage your data lifecycle? How do you analyze, this data? So some of the things you need to check is, the retrieval rates. How much do you retrieve in this volume of data that you have? So using your monitor, the log monitoring dashboard, you could get some of this information. So monitor access pattern, how much do you access this data? Classifies data as frequent or infrequently accessed. Then great for predictable workload, can be filtered by bucket prefix or object tag. So this still boils down to how much, or what's the frequency of this data uh, access. So this is like uh, a slide that shows the different tier level when you've set like an expiry date on your, or a life cycle management control on your bucket. So you could move from S3 standard to uh, the one zone, then to glacier, because you that means because you don't need the data very frequently or millisecond, then you are moving to a lower cost class. That's just the implication at this point. So also there's a batch operation that you could also perform on S3. So I will also touch on um I'll touch on how data could be stored in a way where it's easily retrieved. So there is a concept called partitioning, right? Which is a very important concept when it comes to data storage using data lake, because when you store data, at the end of the day, there's still a the goal is still to be able to retrieve that data, right? And if you store your data in a way in a way where you can't easily retrieve it, where you need to go through your 10 terabytes, your 100 terabytes data to get a simple insight, then that's not efficient, that's costly, right? So some of those things are just things that you really need to think about when you are storing the data, and also when you're picking the tier level. I think I've talked a lot about the cost, the difference. I mean, this was a rush through, but I believe we've learned one or two things in terms of when I'm creating a bucket, do I need to retrieve this data that often? And also when you start storing data in the buckets, right? How do you intend to, are you optimizing for retrieval, because if we are optimizing for retrieval, then retrieval costs also doesn't start piling up, because there's a storage cost and there's a retrieval cost at the point where you need to use that data. So you need to like really think about some of these things when you're building a data lake for different use cases. Like I mentioned earlier, you could have a use case where you want to store your log audits. We are talking about LLM, building agents right now. Data gets piled up very fast, or you even want to create a backup of your log trails. So these are very important topics. So I will go straight to the security best practices. I hope I still have some time to go over that. There are different access controls that you could uh, that comes I would say pre-installed on S3. They are like default configurations that you could edit and use to protect your bucket. So there's IAM, which is your identity access and management. Then there's the bucket policy, the object tag, the access control list. So I'll be talking about each of these controls one after the other. So the IAM policy. So this is something it's an identity that you could attach to your bucket and say, oh, I don't want this user A, or I don't want these resources, or this is the only resources that I want to open my bucket to. I'm just trying to frame this in a very simple English, right? That everyone could understand. I've been trying to, use little technical jargons as possible, because I am not sure who my audience are. But it's important to, when you have a bucket, right, and it contains some sensitive information. Probably you're storing your customers KYC document in that bucket. You don't want to leave it unprotected. You want to limit who can see that bucket. You want to limit what resources have access to that bucket. You want to disable certain things on that bucket. You don't want to leave it to public, like anyone that has access to the link, they can access the bucket. You want to have that control. So this is where you configure that setting using the IAM user policy. So on the screen you could see, I'm sure I have touched on a couple of these things. So IAM user policy versus Amazon S3 policy, because there is actually a user policy that you could set on a user. So that's a user level policy versus a resources level policy, like the AWS S3 uh, level policy, because S3 is a resources on AWS. So for a user policy,
Yes.
it's you asking questions like, what can this user do? What access have you given to this user that you've created? For anyone who's familiar with AWS, you have to create, or even any platform, you have to create a user. Then you give that user certain permissions. You've given the user permission to access your bucket, to access Lambda, to access EC2 instance, different services on AWS. So you could do that using the IAM user policy. You prefer to keep access control policy in IAM environments. You want to control the service, no permission by default. So by default, the user cannot do anything on the platform, right? You want to set what user can do on your account. So for the S3, so this is a resource specific policy. So you're saying I have my S3 specific policy, and you're saying, oh, only user A can access this bucket. Only user B can pull data from this bucket. Only user C can write into this bucket, depending on what you want to do. Or you even have two different AWS accounts talking to uh, each other. you want to whitelist that account ID to say only requests coming from this account 111 should, be able to write into this bucket, depending on your use case, right? Like I've mentioned. So you want to boundary enforcement. So you want to enforce how people access your buckets, right? You want to block the public access wherever. I think I've talked about that. Like the link is out there, people have access to it, but can they actually access your buckets? Because there are also buckets that you want to open to the public. Anyone with the link can, download the file. You have a couple of PDF files or public data that you wish to share with the public. You can put it in an S3 bucket and share the link. Anyone with the link can actually download that. So you've created a VPC endpoint policy. You've created organization service control policy. These are just different ways to uh, control who actually could access your the data in your pocket. So this screen just talk more about uh, the VPC, the private cloud endpoints, and I think we will talk so much about this because I'm also trying to make this session as beginner friendly as much, and this is already like a intermediate level. If you're already setting up VPC endpoints on your bucket, then you're a pro. Uh, so for public access, these are just is very simple configuration. So it's a um, it's a check box where you just say, oh, I don't want public access on my bucket. So then anyone with the link cannot access your buckets. So this screen, it just explains more about what public access is. Any anonymous or overly permissive access is considered public access. Like I mentioned, anyone with the link, if they can access your bucket, then it's uh, public access. Access control list, anyone on the internet, all users, anyone on the internet, any authenticated user on your AWS account, if you don't limit that bucket, or you've allowed, there's this thing we do when you're creating policy, you do resources star. So that means you want any resources to any AWS, resources, Lambda, EC2 to access your um, buckets, and they're able to do all kinds of activities. They're able to put, they're able to get, depending on the operation they want to do, they want to perform. So also, the cross accounts, you don't want other companies or other actors to access your bucket publicly from their account, because they could create like a connection from within their account once they have some information about your account. So it's important that I mean, it depends on the use case, but these are just different ways to block the access. I think I've also touched a little bit on this. So for security settings, this is a I think this is trying to point to how to navigate to. So you just need to on the S3 tab. I think there is a permission. Yes, it's called permission. So if you go to permission tab, then you would see some of these settings there. So I think we've talked a lot about yes, this presigned URL. So presigned URL essentially is a way to share your data securely. So it's like saying, I've signed this URL, right? And this user can access the data for X amount of time, mostly in that case. So it always comes with expiry date, right? And also a one-time I mean, depending on how you've configured it, but mostly a one-time access. So where the user, you can send the link after that session has expired, then the user cannot access the data anymore. So this is a secure way to share data, because I can, I need to send something to user B over the net. I can easily use a pre-signed URL. So this is a more encouraged way to share data, especially when you are doing a machine to machine connection, or you even want to share one time to certain group of people. I want to share this slide with the audience, and I want them to access it at a particular time. All I need to do is to generate a percent URL and share it with you guys. So the encryption. So mostly, I think for AWS, you don't really need to do so much. You just need to enable the encryptions. So your data is already encrypted at rest. So in transit, it is also encrypted using HTTPS or TLS. Um, I hope I still have time, because I'm trying as much as possible to rush through the slide, and also not overly explain certain things. So like I said, AWS already handles encryptions for you. So provides AWS encryption at rest, support for applications that do not otherwise support encryption in AWS. So I yes, so monitoring your security settings. I think that this is also um a very important concept in terms of I've talked about different ways to monitor your AWS, your S3 security. So one is the access control, your configuration rule, your trusted advisor. Then I Amazon Mercy. It's a service. I've never used it, but I know it's a service on AWS. So these are just different ways to uh, to protect your bucket against any malicious activity or unwanted uh, access. So these are just list of best practices. I think I've talked a lot about most of these best practices. So your block public access should be enabled. Use the default encryption. That's totally safe. Encryption at rest, encryption in transits. By also set up your policies. Use VPC endpoints. Protect your endpoints as necessary. You fashioning your data itself. CRR for regional resilience, multi-factor authenticator, and object locking governance mode for permanence. Thank you. I hope we've learned one or two things about S3 buckets and cost optimization, and some security best practices. And I've tried as much as possible to be beginner friendly. That's why I didn't go into a lot of things you would see I skipped on the call. Thank you. Then we can go to the Q&A if we have any question.
Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Bushra. That was really insightful. Thank you. So please, if you have any question, drop it in the chat box. Please, if you have any question for Ms. Bushra, drop it in the chat box. Okay, there's a question here by Taufik Olaliri. So it said service policies and config can be confusing on AWS. While I admit that there are guides online on how to navigate these configurations, sometimes it can be a lot for beginners. Can you share any pro tips in dealing with policies and user config or settings?
Yeah, thanks
Do
for
you
the
get that?
question. Yes, yes, I got the question. So it gets messy easily, right? When you keep creating IAM rules, policies, and whatnot. So the best way I, normally handle situations like this. So one, you think about your services as a group, right? Uh, you have a team, or let me use myself as an example. You have a data team, right? And your data team only need access to AWS S3. They only need access to Lambda, QuickSight, uh, probably Athena, Firehose, right? So in a single policy, you have all of those resources that you want your data team to use listed. For engineering team, they might only need Lambda, step functions, depending on your stack. So you have all the resources they need to use listed in a single policy. And for any new user, you assign that role to the user, right? So that way you don't have to create multiple policies. So if within the data team you feel, oh, some people only need quick sight, then you create a new group called, data sub, depending on how you want to, group the team. So grouping a lot of time, save some of this headache. And if it's a resource based access that you need to control, probably you just want to control Lambda resources. I see no reason why you should be doing that on the console. You should be using the different cloud formation frameworks. You could use serverless, you could use uh the official one, right? So you have all of this, already defined in your template. So your Lambda, you want to give it invoke access, or you want the Lambda to be able to access API gateway, depending on whatever you need to use. So that is already defined, and whatever role is created for that particular Lambda is attached to every other resources created for that Lambda. So if you have to delete, it's a one-time deletion. You don't need to like go over everything and delete manually. So I mean that's a way I would normally solve issues like that. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you for your response, Ms. Bushra. So I don't think there's any other question. I think that's the only question we have for you. So thank you for the presentation. Thank you very much.
All right.
So next speaker will be Mr. Taufik Olaliri.
Oh, welcome, Mr. Taufik. Uh, Mr. Taufik is He's a lead backend engineer at Tix Africa. Taufik is right at home here as he's a computer science graduate of the University of Ibadan. With over 5 years of experience, he specializes in building web applications at scale. Recently, he successfully optimized his company's infrastructure, saving them over 20% of in cloud cost beyond coding. Taufik is passionate about the tech community. He has mentored beginners through tech equity and co-organized trainings for AI Saturdays. He is here today to share his insights. Let's give him a warm welcome. The floor is yours, Mr. Taufik.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for that intro. I hope you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. Good evening once again. The introduction has already been done, so I'll go right into it. So I'll be talking about the Renaissance developer in the age of agents, and that's like a strategic recap for reInvent 2025. I decided to speak about this because it's one of the topics that actually touched me on the AWS reInvent, and it was given by a very respected fellow by me, who also gave his last talk on that very day. So I decided to do a quick recap of what he talked about, and to be an opportunity for the rest of us in case we missed it out. Okay. I don't need to introduce myself again, so I'll just go back into it. So Renaissance, right? This talk was given by Vogel, and he tried to start by discussing the paradigm shift in software engineering from the early days. And he mentioned how software engineering has actually transitioned from one approach to another. He started by mentioning the COBOL days, which is Common Business Oriented Language, and then from there we move on to structural programming, and then from there we had object-oriented programming, and that was when the VB of this word came about, and everybody was crazy about it back then. And then cloud engineering became a thing, and then everybody was like, okay, is my job at stake? Because everybody was somehow scared of the rapidity with which the whole thing was growing. And then after that, we have the advent of microservices, and then now we have AI agents up and down, and this constant change made Dr. Werner, who happens to be the CTO at AWS for over 14 years, and is also the vice president, given his last speech at reInvent, he mentioned that this is like a period of renaissance right now. And then he mentioned that renaissance is like a rebirth, right? It's a period when everything changed because people become curious, which made them question assumptions without fear. So at the point where people are not scared of breaking and making things again when new inventions come about, and that is what it termed as the Renaissance period, and it's happened all the way back, and it's happening right now. So it's more or less as if what is happening right now with software engineering has happened before, but in a different approach. So there's this fear and this question that everybody asks, okay, with this new development, will AI take my job or make me obsolete? And the answer that Werner gave was that AI is not going to take your job if you evolve. So if you refuse to evolve, then your job is at stake. But if you find a way to keep up with the pace, you don't have anything to be scared of. And he mentioned that just keep calm, carry on coding, make sure you are evolving. You also have to maintain an open mind, to be open to different views. And once you do that, nothing else matters because your job cannot be taken from you. So as we all know that change is constant, so almost nothing is new. So that's the short answer that was given by Dr. Werner. And then define agents. I don't have to define what agent is again. It has been said multiple times. So, but now we are seeing changes from tools to teammates. So all these IDEs, all these compilers and everything used to be our tools, which they still are. But now we are seeing a shift in teammates, which AI agents and large language models have come to be for us. And it's been in most cases it's been more active than some usual teammates that we used to have. And they can work whether you are there or not. You don't have to pay them. You just have to set them up properly and give them the right instruction, and they are good to go. Then, having known that we're at a rebate period, we need to talk about a particular approach, a particular way of navigating this period to remain relevant, right? So we mentioned that once you are evolving with this technology, AI is not going to take your job. So how do you ensure that you remain relevant without allowing this AI of a thing to take your job? So we have like the 5 basic qualities of modern software engineers that they must nurture to evolve and become successful in the new era, as listed by Dr. Werner. The very first one is curiosity, right? So I mentioned this earlier. As software engineers, as developers, as builders, the challenge is on us to remain curious. All these tools that we use now that we feel like they are the best thing that has happened recently, they are as a result of some people's curiosity, people like me and you. So to remain relevant in the industry, to be evolving with the technology, you have to remain curious. You have to keep learning as much as you can. And then as you are learning, you are experimenting. And as you're experimenting, you are willing to fail, because when you experiment, you necessarily don't know the end goal, the result of that experiment, but you know that something is going to happen. So that means there's tendency to fail. So you are not afraid of failure. That is where your curiosity drives you towards. So as you learn, you experiment. As you experiment, you should be willing to fail and then bounce back. So it's more than just sitting at the corner of your room and trying to get your hand on new technologies and all. You should also learn to be social as software engineers. We should learn to be social, right? So go to conferences, attend events, something like this user group event that we're working on right now, meet with people, solve challenges together. And then from there, you learn a lot and you remain curious because you are not limited by what you can do alone. So that's the first one. The second one is systems thinking. So a Renaissance developer thinks in system. You don't, as a Renaissance developer, as a developer who is constantly rebetting itself, him or herself, you don't think about a part of a system when you are working on the system. You think about the larger part of that system. You think about the whole system as a single entity. So it means that you are considering all the system as a whole and not just some parts. So every services, your APIs, your queues, your frameworks, your libraries, they are all part of a single system that you're working on. So you don't want to change one in isolation, knowing that a change in one can change the pattern or behavior of the other. So Donella Meadows defines system as a set of things, people or cells, molecules or whatever, that's interconnected in such a way that they produce their own pattern of behavior over time. So that means, with this definition of a system, it means that all systems, not computer systems, all systems, they have a life of their own. A government system, a management system, a computer system, they have a life of their own. So, and just like a human system, our body system, we have a life of our own. So an headache can lead to backache or can be connected to stomachache or leg pain or whatever. So that means whenever you are thinking about changing something or making something better in the system, you also think about all the interconnected parts of that system. So that is what a Renaissance developer do to remain relevant in the industry. The third point is communication with precision, right? So if you study computer science or any technical course, you're going to attend courses that has to do with communication, that has to do with interviewing skills, that has to do with a lot of things, that has to do with talking to people, and you feel like, what? I'm studying computer science for kind of like, why am I doing communication in English and some other things? But now we are seeing the impact, the implication of those things. So used to be human to human interaction, like this, as an engineer, you're communicating with your customers, you're communicating with people that are going to use your system. But now it has become human to machine communication, because now you need to put natural language to AI tools, and the way you structure the communication, the way you structure your prompt, actually going to determine how or what the agent returns to you in form of results. So when you communicate, you communicate clearly. You ensure that your communication between human and between machine is top notch. And if this skill is something that anyone is missing as an engineer, it's something we can always build on, and that is what we mean by we are evolving as engineers. So when you communicate clearly, it helps reduce mistake. Both communication to human and communication to machine. So you don't we don't just say I'm only communicating with my customers. Now, right now that we have to give prompts to agents, to models to solve problems for us, it has become relevant more than ever. So a Renaissance engineer, a Renaissance developer communicates with precision without ambiguity. All right, I'll move very fast because of our time. Then the first one is absolute ownership, right? So this is another important framework for Renaissance engineers. So you, as a Renaissance engineer, you have to own your product. So even if you contribute to a single feature in that product, you have to own it. Ownership means you take responsibility of everything that has to do with that product. You don't just say, okay, now I can vibe code, I can give a prompt to ChatGPT or Gemini, or in this case, Kiro, which is a product by AWS, and it will give you what you want. We should know that when we give prompts to agents, there are a million results that can happen. A agent is thinking about a lot of things, and it's going to pick the one that is very close to what you requested. But that result might not be what you mean. So taking ownership is more than just being a vibe coder, because that's sometimes gambling. You have to be sure that you are taking ownership of what you build. You own it because you built it. So you also review, you verify, and when you use AI agents, you ensure that you use some ownership mechanisms like code reviews and durability reviews. So always remember that the work is yours. It's not for agents. So that is how you ensure that the AI does not take your job. The moment you start pushing the job to the agent, you are not taking ownership of the job. Job again, that means the job is not yours. The work is not yours. It has become that of the AI agent. So you ensure that you have proper peer reviews. You ensure that when your AI or your changes is introduced something that's going to break the durability of your product, you don't just merge and go on with it. You take a pause and review as much as possible. All right, that's 4. I've already explained this. Like so when we vibe code, when we use AI to write code, AI will generate fast, large number of code for us, and then it becomes difficult for human to understand and review that code. So we have to ensure that verification step is very important. That is the part where this ownership thing actually comes in. So when you vibe code, there's this verification depth, and the other one is hallucination, right? So because AI hallucinates, give you some things you don't want, it just jam pack everything together. So AWS already fixed a part of this for us by introducing some tools like Kiro ID, which is a spec-driven development ID by AWS. We're going to talk about that later. And then you ensure automation testing and some other reasoning tools. Okay, so the 5th one is called polymath. So a Renaissance developer is a polymath. And when we say polymath, we're not talking about mathematics right now. We're talking about the developer learning many things. So when we say polymath, you are not just a developer, you are an architect. So a security expert, you are a cost analyst, you are a business strategist, you are all those things together. So what the agent does for you is just to handle the syntax. You are the one that handle the context. So that is what being a polymath is. A polymath is an individual whose knowledge spans across multiple different subjects. So it's not like you don't have a domain. Like they have their own specialization. I can be a data scientist. I can be a web developer. Yeah, that's my domain. But I can even be a backend engineer or a software engineer or a front-end engineer. That's my domain. But that does not mean that I don't know all other things that is going on in the life cycle of my product. So there's the concept of being a T-shape and being an I-shape. A T-shape engineer is someone that has knowledge of all those things joined together, but is an expert in one of them. Whereas I-shape, what they know is what they know. They don't want to know anything going on in security of their product. They don't know anything going on in cost analysis of their product. They only know about coding. So you don't want to be a Renaissance developer. You want to always learn new things and know different things about your product. All right, so let's talk about Kiro, right? I've been mentioning Kiro for a while. So Kiro is a spec-driven development IDE by AWS, and it is a way by which AWS ensures that our communication is broken down into specs, and then you see the design of what you're trying to build. You see the spec, which is the requirement. You see the design before you code. So some natural agents, what you do is write them prompts, and they just write the code for you, and you start debugging from top to bottom all over again. But what AWS Kiro gives you is when you send a prompt to AWS Kiro, it breaks it into specs, right? So we've all heard about test-driven development, procedural-driven development, a lot of other development practices, but this is a new term being introduced by AWS called spec-driven development. So it breaks the prompt that you send to the AI into specs. Then it converts. If you're okay with that spec, it converts it into designs. So if you're not okay with the spec, you can come back to the spec and change it. But if you're okay with it, it converts it to design in form of graphical analysis and some other things. And then once you're okay with that, you start writing the code, and it gives a lot of context to both the machine and the engineer. So we have the workflow right here. As I already mentioned, we have the requirements, we have the design, and then the implementation. And then we have the first. I already mentioned that it is the first spec-driven development AI tool by AWS. It enforces system thinking. I've already mentioned system thinking earlier. So if you want to become a Renaissance developer, you have to think about the system. So this tool from AWS thinks about the system, right? By breaking it into spec and ensuring that the AI is actually doing what you want it to do and not just hallucinating all around. Okay, then we also have some other features of Kiro, which is multi-repo orchestration. That means you can work with multiple repositories at the same time. You don't have to be moving from one interface to another. You can easily work with multiple repo with the same agent. And also it has hooks that you can use to say, okay, for every test file you generate, run the test and ensure it's passed. You don't have to send a different prompt to do that. So those are some other things. And then before I go, I'll leave us with this beautiful quote from Dr. Werner Vogels that says, the builder is responsible for the outcome, not the tool. Protect your curiosity. So no matter the tool you are using as a builder, you are responsible for the outcome. If your AI gives you a wrong result, your managers or the users are not going to go to the AI, they're going to go back to you. So you have to be curious. You have to ensure that those 5 frameworks you mentioned, you constantly check yourself to develop yourself and evolve. All right. Thank you very much. Now let's go and build. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taufik, for the session. It was really insightful. Thank you very much. So we'll move to the question and answer section now. If you have any question for Mr. Taufik, please drop it in the chat box or in the comment section. Anyway, questions.
So I have a question for Mr. Taufik.
Okay,
So for
go ahead,
for
please.
for 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 non-smart users that are prompting AI to generate code for whatever they are building, how do now know that this code is secure and not secure? And or let's say we are using Cure ID.
Uh, your voice is not really clear. I think I didn't get you
Can,
clearly.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
All right. So concerning security for the non-smart users that vibe codes all the time, how are they sure of the security of their code? I mean, they know how to vibe code this thing and it works perfectly fine. So how are they sure of the security?
All right. So, as I already mentioned, so when AI generates code for you as an engineer, either it does what you want it to do or not, the job is not done yet. You have to take ownership of that code, and that involves reviewing the code. And also, eventually, when you create a pull request on Git, and you want to merge to your original to the main branch, you should get reviews, human review this time around, not machine review, because machine review can let go of some things, but when human reviews, it's more uh, it's more um, it's more thorough, and it protects the sanity of the system, right? So number one is you ensure you get reviews. Apart from you reviewing the code by yourself, you review. Number two is testing, right? So you ensure that other units or integration or whatever form of automated testing that you have, you ensure that it is well written, that covers all the edge cases that your AI has introduced for you, and you ensure that those tests pass and it does what you want it to do before you merge. And lastly, you ensure that you use agents, you use tools that actually work, like Kiro, because we have some AI agents out there that they don't care about the context. They just give you random codes. You can imagine. We all know the rate at which AI agents generate codes. It's somehow overwhelming. You just feel like this is too much. I don't want all this. And that is where the spec driven development comes in, right? So the Kiro ID build features based on specs, and you want to ensure that you are only building specs that you want in your platform, in your system, and not hallucinated specs. So and all this is apart from the other things you have to put in place, like the security of system, the cloud platform that you are using, and some other things. So those are some of the ways you can protect your system.
Thank you for that response, Mr. Taufik. So we have some questions here in the chat box. So there's one by Abib Don. He said, "Well said, Mr. Taufik. Can you elaborate on the multi-repo and a bit on Kiro ID?"
Yeah. Okay. So on the multi-repo, so sometimes we have a root directory. So let's say it's a full stack app. You have the front end directory, you have the back end directory, and some other stuff, and they're in different repositories. So what you do is open the root folder where all those individual repositories reside, and then you can interact with these different repositories in the same uh, interface of the Kiro IDE without having to switch context. Like you don't have to open two IDEs for those two repositories. And Kiro will understand that they are in different contexts and they are in different repositories and work like that accordingly. So that's what I mean by multi-repo IDE. And what was the second question, please?
Okay, he said, and a bit on Kiro ID. Can you elaborate on multi-repo and a bit on Kiro ID?
Yeah, I don't know how much time I have. I will have actually demo how Kiro ID work. Let me see if I can swap my screen in a minute and quickly do that. Okay, can we all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, so this is Kiro ID. This is how it works, right? So this is my original prompt. So I say, okay, let's build a typical game with HTML, CSS, Tailwind, and JavaScript.
Oh, we
Just
can.
say,
I can see now. Go build. That is what it's showing.
oh, okay. Let me change that. Uh, stop screen, and then present again. Share screen. Window. A minute, please. All right. I think I'm there. Okay, now you should see my Kiro ID.
Yes, it's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see this, but let me try to zoom. Yeah. So this is my original prompt. I said, okay, let's build a TikTok tool with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And he said, okay, I'll do this. Then it generated the requirements for me. So this is an example of a requirement that I was talking about. These are the spec that Kiro ID will work on to build this project, right? So here, at the point of generating the requirements, it tells me that, okay, now I've generated your requirements. Can you just check if it look good? If so, we can move on to the design. So I can easily go through this. It's human friendly. It's an markdown file. So I can delete or add specs right here. So once you do that and you tell Kiro that, okay, I have accepted the requirements, it generates the design. And this is the design right here. Design is something very small to, because of what I'm building, it's just like an high-level architecture of what Kiro is going to build for me. So I can have a look at this again. And then after that, I can accept the design, and then it generates the task for me. So this is the task right here. I can ask Kiro to start this task, and it starts writing code for me. So when it's done, I can mark this task one by one to start working on. I can say, okay, run all tasks and write the code for me, and then Kiro will do that for me. So that is like an introduction to how Kiro ID works. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taufik, for the response. So
Yeah.
we have some questions here from Abdulhakim Yusuf. So he said,
Okay.
what's the difference between the AWS Kiro and Copilot?
Yeah, they are both. Copilot is a product is an AI agent by Google. AWS Kiro is from AWS. So they are both AI agents. They are both they both generate code. They both debug and things like that. But the way Kiro works is spec driven, as I've mentioned, and that is not the way Google Copilot works. So that's what I can think of in my head right now. I've used Copilot for a couple of times. It's widely acceptable because of how popular Google is, but I see Kiro as the next level of AI agents. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. And there's another question. He said, is AWS Kiro accessible and available for students to use?
Yes, you can. By the way, AWS Kiro is available. You just have to go to. I'll share the website. You just have to register, and then from there you can use the agents. You can experiment with it, and then after a while, maybe at the point you might have to subscribe. But right now, it's on demo phase, and it's free for now.
Okay, please do well to share the link in case anybody is interested in it. So
Okay, I'll do that.
thank you, Mr. Taufik, for this session. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, thank you,
So
everyone. Thanks for listening.
you're welcome. So in the absence of any question, I think Mr.
Okay,
Yusuf, do you want to say something?
okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for this wonderful session. So we are going to be having a panel discussion between all the speakers. So, okay, let me add all the speakers to stage.
Okay, can I go on with the panel session now?
Okay.
All right. Good day, everyone. Once again, I'll be taking the panel session for all the speakers. Okay. First question is directed to Dr. Rola Dali. which states, how did you break into cloud while having a science background? And what are the gaps that cloud computing closed in healthcare sector?
So I had been in academia for a long time, and in academia, we use private compute, private um, infrastructure. So I had no exposure to cloud, or I had done trainings and so on and different little sessions, but I didn't have real experience with cloud before I transitioned. And so when I transitioned, every job interview almost asked me about cloud, and so I realized I had to learn. What I did is I got a job that builds on AWS, and I started to do it that way. But what I realized is that every time I was building a system, I had to look up services, I had to look up best practices, I had to look up a lot of things, and that wasn't very efficient. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up taking certifications. So I took the solutions architect certification, which I recommend for everybody. It's a very, very good certification that identifies what cloud is, what cloud best practices are, what services exist, and basic information that you need to start. And then I took certification after certification, and I took them all, and that's how I felt that I had enough knowledge to build effectively. And so I think certifications helped a lot. Getting a job that built on AWS also helped a lot. And then I got into community quite a bit. So I became a community builder, and then a user group lead, and slowly, and I haven't been my journey. I've been in cloud for maybe 4 or 5 years, so, but it starts very slow, and then it grows very fast. It grows from there.
Okay, thank you for answering that. The next question is, what do you advise someone who is just going into cloud computing from a non-technical background? What advice do you have for such person?
Is that for me? Yeah.
Yes, it's for you.
Yeah. I think certifications help for sure because they give you the background information that you need. At least the solutions architect one, for example. Practice is the best thing to do, right? Build small projects. There's a lot of different projects online that you can test. Cloud works a little bit differently in that, at least in AWS, it's different services that you connect together. So you have to think of it as Lego, and you have to understand what pieces you need and how you connect them. And so it's a combination of background information of what service you need and why service fulfills certain requirements, and then how to use it. So a combination of certifications and practice and building projects should be very good. And also the user groups are super useful. If you look through the user groups and find that one close by, you should be able to network with people who are interested or can mentor you, for example.
All right, thank you for answering. So Dr. Oladali again, is cloud computing the new oil?
Sorry, it's cloud computing what?
The new oil.
It's definitely a new paradigm, the new thing, or
yes, is it the new breakouts in tech?
So cloud computing is not very new. I think AWS, it launched in 2006. So by now it's 20 years old. It's not really new. Is it going to be the way to go? Probably. The way cloud computing works is it allows you to pay as you go with, and it allows a lot of people to build without having a lot of upfront money to build infrastructure. And that becomes a lot easier to pivot projects, to start new projects it gives people in startups an edge. So it's definitely here to stay for sure. And it's definitely a very popular option. So it's not going away. And you should probably learn how to use cloud at some point.
Okay, thank you. The next question is directed to Mr. Taufik. Can someone with software engineering background move to cloud computing?
Of course. It's not optional, because as you navigate jobs, as you move on from one company to another, or as you build your personal product, or you start your startup or something, cloud computing is something you constantly use for deployments, for the services, for storage, some serverless applications that you need to build. So if you're a software engineer, you're already into cloud. But if you want to move directly become a cloud engineer, it's not going to be straightforward. Just like Rola has already mentioned, you have to take courses, you have to gain experience, you have to learn a lot of things, but it's very possible. In fact, if you want to become a cloud engineer, I'll suggest, personally, in my opinion, I'll suggest you start being a developer, and then from there you can grow and move to becoming a cloud engineer. So yes, it's very possible.
All right, thank you. This next question is directed to Ms. Busira Ahmed. What are the career opportunities for students in cloud computing?
So for students, there are like different career opportunities. So because for students we you don't expect the student to work full time, right? So the best way I would say to get started would be, being a community builder. So where you don't actually need to lead, you're just more involved in, the community part of the work where you organize programs around cloud computing. You also give talks about, cloud computing, organize tutorials for fellow students. So then there is the obvious, career part, which is more like you eventually becoming a cloud engineer, right? And I don't think you really need to be a student to be a cloud engineer. And the thing is, the world has moved into, cloud computing. So even if you are a data person, you still work, in that space. So like there are just limitless opportunities out there. So I think for students, it's best to get involved in communities and start building that career ladder bit by bit.
Okay, thank you for answering. Um, this question also directed to Ms. Busira. How can a newbie build projects and choose a mentor?
So I will answer the second one first. Choosing a mentor, right? Mostly you you choose a mentor from, first you look at your circle, like people that attend the same AWS community program with you, uh, user groups, people that are close by, because it's very important that you are able to, that access is important, because if you choose somebody you don't necessarily have access to, it's a bit difficult for me to say, oh yeah, let's meet every 6 p.m. But it's easier when you, especially for students, when you pick somebody on campus who's your mentor, you could say, oh, let's meet up after class, right? Or somebody will attend the same community program with you. So I think first look into that. If you can't find anyone around, then you can look further, and there are lots of communities out there. And I think people nowadays, people are now more receptive. So you just need to engage them, let them know what your goals are. And it's very important that you, because I see a lot of people come to me and say, oh, can you mentor me? And I'm like, okay, mentor you on what? Right? You have to do the assignments. You work on your goals. These are the things I want from this person. You don't just want my contacts. Like you just don't want to be on my LinkedIn connection for that sake, right? You need to have a goal where you say, oh, I'm connecting with this person because I want to learn more about data engineering, or I want to learn more about, AWS tools, because they share a lot of AWS content. And whenever I have blockers, I can always reach out to them that, oh, I have issues with my deployments. I'm trying to do a ABC. So that's very important. Then the first question, projects. I think projects are, they they're everywhere, right? There are lots of problems that we face, in our day-to-day life, start from solving that. You realize that um you have a problem where and these are like general issues. This is how people, you know build, innovate and build startups, where you realize, oh, there's a problem when you have to document for maybe visa processing. It's a lot of work. Why not build a tool that could solve that problem? And for beginners, you might not be, thinking at that scale. There are lots of, project repository where you could go and, try to replicate what people have built, right? If you're a beginner and you feel, oh, I need to learn, bit by bit. So I think, for beginners, it's important you start from, maybe something as simple as CGPA calculator. I'm sure most beginners as a student built that while in school, right? So start from something, really close to you. I know when I was in school, some of my mates built like a course directory, like a course document directory, where you could, based on your department, your level, you could go on the app and download any course material. So just look around. There are different problems around you that you could, build a project to solve.
All right, thank you so much for answering that. It's very detailed answer. The next question is directed to Mr. Yusuf. How to manage it? How do you manage a community? Like, what are the steps, procedures to manage a community?
Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful question. The first thing is to understand the foundations of tech community management by defining purpose and vision of that community that you want to manage, and who are the audience that you are targeting. Are they the developers? Are they designers? Are they entrepreneurs? Are they students or mixed groups? And there has to be values and guidelines that you must establish, like code of conduct, to ensure inclusivity, respect, and professionalism. And these are some of the practical steps to manage effectively, like encourage discussions, question and answer sessions, and knowledge sharing by hosting events, webinars, hackathons, meetups, or workshops. Then you also need to recognize contributions like sharing badges, shout outs, and leadership roles. And you need to share tutorials, articles, and industry news, and also sharing job opportunities like internships or opportunities for students, and job opportunities for those who are developers who are still searching for jobs. And there has to be provision of mentorship opportunities, and create repositories of useful tools and guides and FAQs. And also need to appoint moderators, ambassadors, to help manage discussions, resolve conflicts quickly and fairly, and keep communication transparent. Members should be feel heard. And you also need to use social media and newsletter to attract new members, partner with companies, universities, or organizations for sponsorships and resources. And you also need to continuously gathering feedback to improve on that. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you for your answer. The final question is directed to Dr. Rola. How can someone be consistent to become an AWS hero and win a gold jacket?
So the gold jacket is an easier target in that it has more defined goals, right? So people are awarded the golden jacket when they pass all certifications. Now, of course, the certifications are dynamic. Some of them drop, some of them are added. But at the moment that in any given year, if you finish all of certification, you don't have to finish them all in a certain year. They have to be valid. I think the validity of AWS certs is 3 years. And so if you have at any point all of the ones that are available, then you can request a golden jacket from certain organization. It used to be that only very specific people can get a golden jacket. I got mine from the ambassador program, which is the organization that started the jackets. But I think now there's a lot of other places you can, if you're a community, you can ask through the community builders or the user groups, or there's other ways to get it. So that's so you just you pass the certifications. In terms of the hero, again, the requirements for the program are not very clear. It is by selection, so you would have to be a consistent part of the AWS community consistently for a long time, and then they reach out to you. So I don't know what to tell you beyond give to the community and give consistently for a long time, but that doesn't guarantee anything either. We can ask somebody closer to AWS about that, but I don't have any answers.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer. So there's really no direct path to become an AWS hero, but to be consistent with AWS community in general. All right, thank you. That is the end of the panel session, and Mr. Yusuf would continue from here.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to start first with Dr. Rola from Canada. Thank you so much for joining us here at our meetup, the AWS event recap. Thank you so much for sacrificing the time, and also to other distinguished speakers. Mr. Taufik Olaliri, thank you so much for joining us. And also Ms. Bushra Ahmed, thank you so much. And I also appreciate all our moderators, Ms. Nirima Juma, Divine from Federal University of Technology, Owerri. Thank you so much. Thank you. And also, I also thank Inioluwa Atanda from the University of Ibadan, from the Department of Computer Science. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. And that brings us to the end of this technical section. I'd like to say a big thank you to our speakers for sharing their expertise and to all participants for engaging with thoughtful questions. I really hope you found the discussions valuable, and we look forward to seeing you again in another session. So do have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, bye.